Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
It's exciting to be here, and it's actually really nice that David gave the presentation before me, because he talked about community and pictures and evolution, and that's sort of what I'm going to talk about here, although it's in a different context. So I'm from the Media Lab, the Sociable Media Group there, and I'm finishing my PhD, and I'm very, very interested in archives of social interactions and how can we visualize them. So for those of you who are familiar with my work, you know that I've been visualizing all sorts of archives, email archives, Usenet newsgroup archives, and even chat room interactions. And the interesting thing there that combines all of the sort of the common thread is the fact that all of these things are about conversation, right? It's the fact that people go online and they talk to each other and you leave traces of your conversations. And this was very much what communities, online communities used to be, right? They used to be all about conversation, and that's what community meant. But now, communities are becoming more complex in the sense that conversation still happens and it's a major force, but it's not only about conversation anymore. So the project I'm going to show you today is actually something that looks at wikis, okay? And the interesting thing there is the fact that a wiki is a communal artifact, and conversation happens around that. So my perspective, the reason why I was interested in visualizing wikis, the evolution there was, my question was, well, if we visualize the evolution of this social artifact, can we understand something about the dynamics of the community itself? Okay? So this is a project that I did at IBM when I was doing a summer internship there with Martin Wattenberg, who's a great visualization person. And the way I think about this is sort of like conversation plus. Okay? It's a community that's not all about conversation. And we decided to look at Wikipedia. Okay? So what we wanted to know was, this is a sample page, happens to be a page on chocolate. And I wanted to be able to look at this and understand, this first paragraph here, was this something that a person wrote yesterday, or is this something that 300 people worked on for the last 2 years? All right? And so what we did is we looked at some of the editing things. So on Wikipedia, at the end of each page, you have an edit this page link. It actually changed a little bit. Now it's by sections. But still, if you click on this edit this link page, this edit this page link, you get the editor and you can do whatever changes you want, and then you save it and it automatically uploads. And then what we have also in Wikipedia is that each page, this is the history of edits for chocolate, has this sort of history of what happened to it. Okay? So each one of these lines is an edit that someone made. And we have a timestamp, we have a name of the person. So if the username, if the person is registered with Wikipedia, we get the username. If they're not registered, we get the IP address. And then the other thing that you get is a little comment that you can choose to leave saying, I fixed a typo here, or I added a little paragraph about that. And when I saw this, I was like, this is exactly what I want to visualize, because this is where all the action is, and it tells me evolution of this page over time. Okay? So the way the visualization works is pretty simple. Imagine you have 3 people working in the same document. Okay? So Mary, Suzanne, and Martin. And Mary starts the first version, so she writes the entire thing and says, hey, you guys, look at this. Tell me what you think. So the first version is this line that is in Mary's color. Okay? And Suzanne comes around on the second version and says, this is great, but I want to add a little paragraph here at the end. So you can see Suzanne's line at the end. So the length of the line is the length of the text that you added. Okay? And then version 3, Martin comes around and says, well, this is a little verbose. Let me cut it a little bit here, reword it. So you see where this goes, right? And what we did is we connected every instance of text that survives over multiple interactions, all right? So what you get, I see what this is. So what you get are these polygons of color, and then you also have these gaps here, okay? And gaps are for insertion of new text, right? And what I'm showing you here right now is this equally spaced view of the versions. But we also know that the versions happen over time, so what you can do is you can show them over time. So you start seeing some rhythms, okay? Are there spurts of activity? And then the other thing you can do is you can select a version, and then you can see the actual contents colored by the author, okay? So it's pretty simple. So let me show you a live demo of History Flow. So what we're looking at here is the evolution of the design page on Wikipedia, all right? These are the contents of the page here, and oh, my mouse. And you can scroll up and down the contents. And these are the versions, and they are shown by date here. But if I want to show them equally spaced, you can see the evolution of this, okay? Now, this is where the authors are to the left here. And you can go back and forth and see what's happening. And you see that there's some shuffling around here. Nothing too exciting. Let's look at some other example here. Let's look at the Wikipedia page on cat. And you wonder, how interesting can cat be? So one of the things that you notice right away is the fact that you have a lot more versions, right? But then there's something else that's happening here. There's this little white line that doesn't go anywhere. So what's going on? So if you go here and you check out what happened, you notice that someone posted a bunch of paragraphs about the Unix command cat. All right? So it is about cat. It's a page about cats, right? So, but what happened? We can see that the next version, it's not there anymore. So did someone just completely delete the thing? If we go there, we notice that, no, they didn't really delete it. They just redirected to a new page called cat Unix. All right? So this is something where you're starting to decide what belongs or doesn't belong in this page and how you can sort of agree on splitting parts of the content. So let's look at something more controversial a little bit. Let's look at abortion. And it takes a little bit to load.
Is there an automatic process for generating this graph, or does it require a great deal of labor and love to put together the diagram?
It required a great deal of love and labor to do that the first time. So I'm going to talk about that towards the end, but IBM has released a free version of this in AlphaWorks. And we're working towards releasing the Wikipedia plugin so that you can automatically do this on any ooh, this is not good. It should have loaded this thing already. So that you could, here, let me just run this again. Hang on just a second. Bear with me. My poor computer. So you're going to get to see some of the code here. But basically, the idea is to have people use this on their own and really just point it to any page on Wikipedia and other wikis as well. So one of the things that we're talking with the Wikipedia folks about is to have a devoted server. Because when IBM first launched the thing on AlphaWorks, they were really worried that if we had the Wikipedia plugin, this would just completely bring their server down. And so we're talking with them about having a devoted server for that. So, and let's hope that this actually comes up. And then I can show you the abortion page. Okay, well, while that's loading, what I'm going to do is I have a backup here. Okay. So this is the abortion page, okay? And Wendy sort of stole my thunder here because she showed this yesterday. But what do you notice right away that's sort of awkward? What?
The gaps.
The gaps, exactly. So there are these two sort of gutters here, right? And this is when someone went and deleted the entire thing. And this is what it looks like when you delete the entire thing, okay? And then the second time they deleted the entire thing, they also said, you know, abortion is great, and next time abortion is good, right? But the interesting thing is also to look at the timing that these things happen on, okay? So if we look at the first time this thing was deleted, you can see it happened on the 17th of December, 4:06. It was fixed 17th of December, 4:07, okay? So it took a minute to fix this thing. And we kept seeing this pattern over and over again. A couple of minutes later, it got fixed. So one of the things that we did is we did a little survey with Wikipedians to ask them, you know, how do you do this? How can it be so fast? And what's happening there is that when you create a page on Wikipedia, you can choose to monitor that page, okay? So one of the things that happens is whenever someone edits the page, you get an email and says, you know, such and such made an edit. And I thought, that's great. So does that mean that you monitor one page, 2 pages? How many pages do you monitor? And there are people who monitor thousands of pages. So when they said that to me, I was like, you cannot be serious that you monitor thousands of pages. So do you not have a life? What do you do? And what they do is that they look at the username. If the person who made the edit is someone that they recognize and it's known to be a good Wikipedian, then they don't bother, okay? Otherwise, they will go and check it out. And also the fact that there are sometimes multiple people trying to monitor the same page. Okay, let's see if we are in business here. So let's see if I can get you to abortion. Because there's one little thing in abortion that I want to show you. Another thing. Yeah, maybe not. Okay. So the other thing is the fact that if you visualize this over time, then you completely lose the fact that you miss the fact that there were those gutters in the first place because they are so fast, right? They happen so fast. And one of the things that we didn't see too much of is exactly what's happening over here. Is this people just swapping pieces of text? Okay, just changing places, and that's something that I was expecting to see a lot more because it seems such a simple and normal thing to do. And one of the intuitions that we have about why this doesn't happen more often is the fact that you have these editing windows that are very limiting. Okay, if you have a very, very long page and you're trying to edit that page and you just have a small window to look at, it becomes very cumbersome for you to do what you wanted to do. Okay, we have abortion, and let me do this by date. So let me show you my favorite Wikipedia page here. And this is chocolate. I was very happy to see that someone was talking about chocolate yesterday, and very sad that my name was not on the chocolate label that you showed, Shelly. I put it there. I did that. So chocolate looks pretty normal, right? No big deal here. And yet, this is all by date. When I do this by versions, what looks a little awkward there? The zigzag, right? When I saw this, I was like, this looks very beautiful. I want a scarf like this. But definitely something is going on. And we kept seeing this in more than, like, many pages. So what's going on here is the fact that there is an edit war. Someone thinks that this should be in the page, and someone thinks it shouldn't. Okay? So, and I'll show you what this refers to. So back here, this guy, Daniel C. Boyer, put up this small paragraph saying, extremely rarely, melted chocolate has been used to make a kind of surrealist sculpture called collage. All right? So this thing survives for a while, and then someone takes it off, oops, and says, removing Boyer invention. Well, Boyer comes back and says, reverting, collage is not a Boyer invention. Person goes back, Google search for chocolate collage, finds only Boyer. Okay? Reverting. leave your humbug out, okay? And it just keeps on going and going until Daniel just, Daniel C. Boyer just decides that's not worth it, gives up, which is really bad because chocolate collage does exist. I looked it up and it does exist. So one of the other things that we did with the visualization was to look at this without the author names, without the author colors, okay? And what you get here is age of text. All right, so in an environment like Wikipedia, anytime you have text that survives intact for a long time, that's a very good sign of quality because nobody touched that text. And that's what you see with the darker text here being much older than the white text. The other thing we did was look at individual contributions. So if I select this guy here, Viber, I can see that this is his contribution, or her contribution, I don't know, and it survives for this amount of time. If I select someone else, say the person who first started this page, I can see that a lot of their contribution survives. Okay, and that's something else that we also noticed is the fact that it seems like the people who start the pages have a lot more say. There's a higher probability of their text stay intact, and we think that this is sort of the first mover's advantage, okay? You set the tone for the page, and then people sort of work around that page with you. Okay, so what have we learned from this? That we shouldn't do live demos is one thing. One of the things that we wanted to know was, how representative are these things that we're seeing in the visualization? Because obviously we were visualizing these things by hand, like we were pointing to specific pages. And we visualized over 100 pages, but Wikipedia, as you know, is huge, right? So what we did is we downloaded the entire Wikipedia data set with all the history and ran a statistical analysis of it. And it was good to see that the intuition from the visualization actually was pretty representative. So one of the things, for example, is mass deletion. It turns out that this is as of August of 2003, by the way. The fixing time for a mass deletion, okay, the median time is under 3 minutes in the entire Wikipedia site. When you add to mass deletion bad language, okay, like the word fuck, you go under 2 minutes, okay, which is pretty impressive. So what we wanted to do next with this was, for example, compare versions of Wikipedia, okay? Wikipedia exists in many languages, and it would be interesting to see if, for example, the dynamics in the Spanish Wikipedia are any different from the dynamics in the English Wikipedia. By the way, there's a Wikipedia in Old English, the entire thing. It's pretty impressive. So, and wikis in general. So Wikipedia is a very specific flavor of wikis, right? Other wikis are completely different. The dynamics must be different. Technological wikis are very different. So it would be interesting to start looking at some of these things. And also self-healing. Wikipedia has this Wikipedia is phenomenally successful, right? So what can we learn from the way the community deals with vandalism so that we could do more of that in other communities? That would be an interesting thing. The other thing we did with History Flow is start visualizing some source code. Okay, so this is a picture of source code where one programmer completely takes over someone else's work, and it would be interesting to start to scale. Oh, okay. Let me just finish really quickly. So who cares about this stuff? After we showed this, we had very, very high demand from Wikipedians, from other wiki communities, from programmers who was like, I want to visualize my source code like this, okay? And obviously researchers who wanted to look at communities like that. And like I said, IBM is releasing this on AlphaWorks, and the Wikipedia plugin should be coming out as soon as we figure out with Wikipedia how we're going to do this, how we're going to make it work without bringing them down. And the implications, I think, are clear to me, at least. One of the things is that, like I said, online communities are evolving to become a lot more than just conversation. And that's an interesting thing. And that also means that we leave behind this trail of documents, okay? So there's Wikipedia. There are all the conversations that happen around those pages that I showed you that would have been interesting to visualize as we're visualizing the evolution of the pages, okay, to see what patterns come out. open source communities, communities of software developers who are not co-located, and you have this amazing trail of source code that evolves over time and all the documentation. Can you imagine visualizing something like, oh yeah, there were 300 emails that were exchanged for these 2 lines of code, okay? That would be something to look out to. And then social dynamics. One of the things that these visualizations can do for us is, if you noticed, a few seconds after I explained to you how the visualization worked, I was asking you what looked weird on the visualization, okay? So that means 2 things, that very quickly you get a sense of what's normal behavior, because I'm showing you so much data, okay, that it becomes easy to sort of get a sense, even though you don't know these patterns yet, what's normal and what's really an outlying case of behavior. So that's pretty much what I had. There is the project website. This is where you download it from, and be happy to talk to you. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Fernanda. So we'll take a break. It's going to be a short one. We ran over a bit. Meet in about 15 minutes to start our discussion on positive externalities by moderated by Leah.